God starts to show me women, woman after woman, that has a testimony, that are now married, that went through the process. God took them through the same process, and they were being prepared to be a wife, and they are now wives. It wasn't just one woman. It wasn't just two women. It was hundreds of women that have literally documented their journey on YouTube, that they committed themselves to God, and God brought the man. So you guys can say whatever you want to say. When there's hundreds and hundreds of testimonies online, if you choose to look at them, that they go about it God's way and they get God's results. Look it up yourself. Is how God writes your love story, or how God wrote my love story, or how God brought my spouse, or how God brought us together. It is all over the YouTube space. God does care about your dating. God does care about your spouse. In fact, I would argue one of the most important decisions you will ever make is the person you decide to lay down with and have a child with, and create a family with. That's one of the most important decisions you could ever make. People want to pray to God about a job. People want to pray to God about a car. People want to pray to God about money. People want to pray to God about everything else. But they don't come to God, and they don't think God cares about who you decide to marry. That's wild. We want to be disciplined. We go to the worst situations in the world, and we're over here, pray to God about the tsunami, pray to God about the flood, pray to God about this terroristic attack. You don't think the God of the universe cares about your relationship? He does. He has a preferred will for your life. He has a preferred will for your life. And unfortunately, family, a lot of people, because it was even told to me that God doesn't deal with your relationships. That's a lie. You have all these different names for it now, like other worldly terms. But you don't think that spiritual unction about that person, that one person you just can't shake, that one person, it just doesn't make sense. I got this connection with, I can't make sense of it. We haven't spent time together, but there's something about this person that is different. And family, I've seen testimony after testimony after testimony. Evidence after evidence after evidence that dating God's way is way better and has produced way better results than world's way. When we allow God and we trust God enough to say, here's my love life. Here it is. I'm going to do it your way. I'm not going to be out here trying to make it happen and talk to as many men as possible and try to make you, I want to talk to this guy and 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 see which one works. And then we wonder why our divorce rate's out of control. Because we're choosing off of our wisdom. I know. We're choosing off of our feelings. I know. Or how everybody around us thinks is right or whatever. I know. I've been there. But that's not God's way. That's our way. And so I believe I'm one of those people that at this point in my life, I'm inviting God into every aspect of my being. And so when God told me to stop dating, it wasn't just me just sitting here with my hands doing this, waiting. God took me through a process. He started preparing me. I remember one day I woke up and I was like, I need to learn how to make steak. I was like, why in the world do I want to make steak? Like, why do I want to learn this? Like, I made every other thing, but I hadn't made steak at that time. random, but that was that. During this process, God took me off of peptides. God took me off of certain types of, like I said before, certain types of posting. Told me, and I literally had, during this time now, I have a coach that holds me accountable as well, and she has a spiritual ear. She can hear. I mean, definitely prophetically gifted, and she holds me accountable. And so I've had a lot of different spiritual, people in my life that hear the voice of God, that are helping me make the decisions that God has called me to make. And he's having me walk on crazy faith. But in this journey, we make our way God's way, and it's not the same thing. People be like, oh, I met this man of God and he was at my church and he wanted me, but I'm not really that attracted to him, but he really wanted me. And so now we're dating and now we're married because it was a man of God and he wanted to get married fast. That's not God's way. We make God's way. Just because a man is a godly man don't mean he's your man. I've met amazing men of God. I know they not my man. And they ready to get married in 24 hours. But I know it's not my man. I would be taking what belongs to someone else. But what we do is, because we don't have anybody, we get desperate and we start settling and doing all these other things to create something, when God is telling us to be still and trust him. The whole Bible is about us trusting God. It was all about the Israelites trusting God. And so, yeah, I'm trusting God. God showed me that this whole worldly dating concept, the reason why it's so broken, the reason why we see every day a relationship breaking up, the reason why we see things and we're constantly making content about this modern dating pool, and we have all this content about how dysfunctional things are, is because we're not doing it God's way. We're doing it our way. We're choosing off of our wisdom and not inviting God into the process. Even in the church. Even in the church. Because I'm not going to lie, a lot of women settle. They get desperate and they settle. Period. It's not the guy that ultimately waiting on God was taking too long. And the reason why, you know what, to be honest with you, when I see these things, reason why dating God and all this other stuff, honest, I'm just going to block this account. I'm going to do you a favor, my brother, since we're not on the same page. I'm going to go ahead and block you for you. How about that? I'm going to block you. Because I'm going to help you out, my brother. Because for somebody that don't like me, you are very committed to being on every single live I do. Whether it be on YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok, you are on every single one. If you don't like me, you shouldn't follow me. Let's start there. You way too committed to somebody you don't like. I'm just saying. Anyway. My whole point is, family, is that when I started really hearing God and isolating the noise so I can hear God, a lot of times, family, we don't take the time to really hear God. We don't isolate the noise. There's a lot going on. There's always a lot going on. There's always a lot going on. And I've had to be very intentional about quieting the noise and hearing God. And sometimes y'all, the things that God has called me to do, it don't make sense to me. But what I've learned in this process is that when you do it God's way, you get God results. When you do it world's way, you get world results. I'm waiting on God for my husband. I'm waiting on God. I'm not going to go out here and try to meet people and date and do these things. I've never done it this way before. I'm not going to lie to you. I've never done it this way. I've never said, okay, God, here's the reins, you drive. But what I will tell you is one of the best journeys I've ever been on, because I see how faithful he is. And I've trusted him in every single area, from my finances, dating, my job, everything, where I'm going to be living, because I believe God is calling me to move. I believe God is calling me to move. But again, this journey of saying yes to God, one of the biggest reasons why or how you know it's him is because you literally don't make sense to you. It doesn't make sense to you. It doesn't make sense to you. And so, yeah, I learned that the way that we date, even Christian women, I know a lot of Christian women going on dates, just aimlessly dating, not allowing God to lead that process. And I'm not faulting them, because I think that a lot of us have heard, well, what are you going to do? How are you going to meet him? Is he going to come to your house like an Amazon package? Family, I see so many women trying to orchestrate and make themselves available. They're going to golf happy hours. They're going to different happy hours in the city where they know that certain men of certain net worth that's where they hang out. They go to the golf tournaments. They go to the mayor balls. They go to all the things. Trying to find and orchestrate and facilitate. And it's like God's like, okay, when you're done doing it your way, come to me. When you're done trying to figure it out and make it and manipulate it to make it happen for you, come to me. Because this process with him is completely different. God doesn't call us to strive. God doesn't call us to manipulate. God doesn't call us to facilitate. God calls us to trust him. God calls us to walk in faith. God calls us to say, okay, God, have your way. Instead, we want to go online, talk about 50-50, talk about all these things that really just don't matter, when really we need to be talking about the fact that the reason why our dating pool is as trash as it is, and the reason why our marriage rates are lower, our divorce rates are lower because our marriage rates are lower. The reason why is because we keep choosing off of our own wisdom. We keep choosing off of what we think makes sense to us, and we are not choosing off of what we trust our God to do, or trust our God to give us wisdom in. I've seen these stories, and I literally, one woman, it was incredible to me. God had showed her husband, and she was faithful to this man. She was conducting herself as if she was already in a relationship with a man that she had no communication with. None. She was consecrating herself, staying in faith, doing whatever she did. I guess at some point, this man, and I can't imagine, can you imagine that? Can you imagine? Where somebody tell you who your husband is or who your wife is, and you just watching them? They know it's me, right? You know what I'm saying? You just watching them like they know I'm their wife. They gotta know it. God, you can't be just talking to me. And she in church every Sunday, just being cool about it. Just chilling. She never broke into a, have I ever crossed your mind anytime? Do you ever wake up reaching out? She didn't do that at all. Do I ever cross your mind anytime? I miss you. Okay. And so anyway, In the eighth month, it was her birthday. I'll make a long story short. He knew. He had an idea it was her. He always had this thing about this woman. He didn't understand what it was, this connection he had with this woman, but it just wouldn't go nowhere. And God was like, I'm not going to let it go nowhere. And so he was instructed to show up at a certain point, and he did. He texted her that night. 8 months later, they were engaged. They got married 6 months later. Another story is 8 months. She waited 8 months. Man didn't even know who she was. Within at that 8 month mark, they met, had a couple conversations, they courted for a minute. 3 months later, they was married. Another woman, she bought her wedding dress. God told her everything 8 months before she met her fiance. She got engaged. She's getting married. This stuff happens. It is not me just making something up. I thought I was alone in the journey, but then when I saw that other people were on the journey too, I'm like, oh, so this isn't a Sam thing. This is a God thing. Hey guys, thank you for watching this video. I appreciate you guys. Go ahead, hit the subscribe button, y'all. Let's not just be every once in a while. Let's become family, okay? Friends that are family, okay? Join my family today.